This is very much not working. Okay, we're back for day 6. I've got some more time today in the studio, so this head really needs to actually look like a head by the time I leave here today. I've only got about 20 days until this needs to be ready, and I want to have it finished before that ideally, so that I have enough time to get like some footage and stuff like that of the final piece before I say goodbye to it. We just need to crack on, get the head done so that we can start on the body. All right, let's get into it. One of the first things we need to do is sharpen these welding electrodes, because at the moment they're all pretty messed up, and it means that I have to like keep switching them over. So when I've got a big welding session, I like to make sure I've got a few electrodes ready to go so that I don't have to like stop and start in between doing it. Okay, we've got this quite a lot stronger. So I'm pretty happy with how that's feeling now. Just a few extra connections to kind of keep it in place so it doesn't fall apart later, which is always good. I've been sort of procrastinating sorting out the eyes. Obviously, last time we discovered that these won't weld properly. So I'm going to sort of jerry-rig a little bit of a framework up around so that I can weld them on. That should be a good workaround, but it's a bit frustrating to have to do. It's always a tiny bit annoying, but let's get into it. Okay, so we bent this to go around here, and then I'm going to take another one, sort of stick that through there, then I can weld like a ring, locking it in place. This was very hot and just burned both of my fingers, so that's good fun. Ah! Okay, that isn't working very well. It's just quite difficult as it turns out, so I'm going to see if we can do something else. We are getting somewhere. We've got a little bit of a framework built up around here. The way that I was trying to do it in the first place, it was just getting really difficult to sort of have a properly tight fit around it, which obviously I need. So I need to finish off adding one more sort of like clip here, and then I'm gonna do just 2 sets of like small nails going around the whole outside of it. This has taken ages. It's going to be really boring to do it again for the second eye, but I think that will be the like tedious part of the head done, and then we can just sort of build through it a lot quicker once we've sort of tackled this as our main issue. And it's like pretty strong already, so that's good. But yeah, better get back to it. Okay, we're actually done. I know that it looks really like janky, it doesn't look very good, but I think with my sculptures, I never want them to look too refined, and it's more about what actually works, what's actually strong, and that kind of ends up giving the overall look that I like. But yeah, this has worked quite well. Took ages. I really don't want to do the other side, but I'm pretty happy with the solution that we've actually got. Hopefully I should be able to do the second side a bit quicker, because this time I know what I'm actually doing. That tends to be how it goes. The first time you're doing something, it's like a lot of is this going to work? It takes a lot of thinking effort and a lot of thinking time before you actually commit to a weld. Whereas this, I'm just going to follow it like a blueprint and try and just do the exact same thing on the other side. And then once I've done that, we're going to get them welded onto the head, which will make it look just a lot more lifelike. And then it's time to start filling in those gaps between the eyes and the rest of the head. Depending on like how long that all takes, we might be able to get the lower jaw made today as well, which would be really good because then we kind of have pretty much the whole head done. And I really want to start on the actual main body as well because running out of time already. Time to get started on this one. It's currently 4:38 now, so let's see how long this actually ends up taking me. Last one. Okay, we have both of the eyes done. They're not actually attached, they're just sitting on this at the moment. I'm just gonna go sand them down a little bit so that I can get all the sort of rough edges really flat and nice. And then we're done. That one actually, oh yeah, what time is it? Let's see, how long did that take? Okay, it is 5:24, so not actually as long as I thought. I thought that one was gonna take a bit longer, but yeah, we really got through it a lot quicker because I knew what I needed to do this time. So I have a bit of a conundrum that I need to decide what I want to do. So we've got the head shape here, obviously, and then the eyes are done now in terms of the actual metal structure. So I want to get these welded on and build up the rest of the head so that it will look something like this, basically. And then we'll fill in all of these gaps. What I do want to do with the eyes eventually is stick these light bulbs on to get a bit more of a sort of accurate chameleon look. So the difficult thing that I need to decide now is if I want to do this, I'm probably gonna smash the glass in the back here and then chop the top off here. And then how do I want to attach this to this? So I'll glue on the joint there, but then I would probably want to, from the inside, weld something metal that was in here to this sort of structure here. Now, if I actually weld the eyes directly to this structure now, it's gonna mean that I won't have access to any of the inside here to do any of the welding. But I'm not quite ready to actually experiment with these, which means, do I go ahead and weld these on and then potentially make it more difficult to attach these eye parts later? Or do I sort of wait, but then I can't work on the head in the way that I want to because I really need to get the eyes situated to build up all of the rest of the stuff. I could start on the body, but I feel like I want to get the head a bit more together first before I actually do that. I feel like the right thing to do would probably be to wait and to get these attached, but I kind of feel like that's not what I'm gonna do. So yeah, I mean, if I had months and months to do this project, then I'd probably do that. I'd just wait. I'd figure out exactly what I want to do with these before actually continuing with anything else. But I only have 3 weeks left at this point. And so I think it might not be sensible. It might turn out to be a real pain later down the line, but that's kind of a problem for future Zach. So yeah, I think I am gonna just weld these on. I need to see some of this piece actually coming to life. It's sort of stayed like this too long. Also, I just think it looks really cool already, so I'm quite happy with that. Oh, and leave a like if you can, it really helps. I've also really been enjoying doing this series because the studio is like quite lonely. It's quite a lonely job. I'm in here by myself. There's no one to like run ideas by. I don't even have windows in here, so it can be a little bit depressing doing this job sometimes. But it's quite nice virtually having you guys because it gives me an outlet to actually like speak out loud in the day and talk through my ideas. Otherwise, normally when I do this, it's just all in my head and I don't have anywhere to like actually vocalize it. So that's been a really fun part of like this build so far, is sort of documenting it on here for you and replying to questions and stuff like that. So if you have any questions or like thoughts about the build, just these are coming out pretty much like the day or a couple of days after I film them. So let me know and I'll actually see them, reply to them, and you never know, it might actually help like influence the build as it goes forwards. Over dinner, I changed my mind slightly. I'm gonna do the lower jaw before I do the eyes. Not for all the reasons I said about delaying the eyes, but actually just because I think with the lower jaw on, it will be easier to see where I want to position the eyes in relation to the whole head. It's hard to not visualize this as like the entire head when I'm deciding about placements. So yeah, gonna get just a very basic outline of the lower jaw on, and then we can get the eyes all attached. Right, so we've got to choose some new parts to do the lower jaw. I'm thinking these guys would be pretty good. Again, we use them for sort of the base of the upper jaw, so it kind of makes sense because they'd follow a similar shape. One thing that I do need to do differently is decide how I'm going to build build this shape. This also might come in handy. Yeah, that's roughly what we were thinking. Yeah, I think we're going to start with this. I might just actually weld it straight on and then build up the rest from there. I always find it a little bit of a shame when you have a really nice part that's got like some letters, text, numbers on it, to not have that kind of get shown off. And this will obviously kind of end up hidden away, but I think it's kind of too useful a part to not use here. Then again, let's see, is there anything that would be similar that I could use that's not quite as nice? This is way simpler, but could kind of do the same job. It's very malleable, which does help things. Well, not all of it's very malleable though, actually. Take that back. Okay, so this could work as well. It wouldn't go all the way back, but that's not necessarily a problem. Okay, changed my mind. We're going to use this. This piece is too cool. I'm going to save it for something else. Right, we'll go weld it now. Okay, we have a bit of a head going here, as you can see. Obviously, it's just kind of like rough outlines at this point, but it just gives a better idea of what the structure is going to be, I think. I wanted to talk a little bit about this metal. How do I get it? What's it from? It's from these heat sinks, so I'm just going to show you how I actually get the individual sheets out, because I'll be using those to kind of plug in some of the gaps and just fill out the shape a bit. So these are really cool. They're used to basically keep stuff cool. It helps filter the heat. These two just came off really easily, but you can actually just pry off the sheets of metal. Normally I just take a screwdriver, and if you whack it into the corners, you can kind of tease each corner out like this. Then once you've done all four, you can just peel it up like that. Okay, I'm going to be honest, this one is giving me more trouble than usual for some reason. It's a little bit stuck This one here, come on, first. Okay, see, I've messed up. I was trying to do it without bending any of it. I wanted to keep it as flat as possible, but this side is just sticking right on here. There we go. Okay, finally got it off. It's probably okay. There's a few like bits in here where I want to use this and I'm gonna cut it into a better shape. So it doesn't matter necessarily that I've bent this bit because I'll just cut a section that doesn't involve that. But it's really good because it's super malleable and it's really thin, so I can actually just cut it with a pair of these metal scissors. And that's how I make shapes like this quite easily. So that's what we're gonna use to just fill in some of these gaps. One of the worst things about my studio setup is the height of this bench. This is my welder, and so this can like go lower, you can adjust the height. Unfortunately, that's the maximum height that it can go. Obviously, I'd like to be standing like this, but instead I have to crouch like this, which when you're like doing that for hours, just that little bit of a back bend, so painful right there. And also the actual like bench itself, I end up leaning over it quite a lot because it's a bit too low. But all my chairs are too small, so I'd then be like too short to sort of sit down and do any of this. So it's a pain. It's like, as in, it's actually painful, but it's worth it. Definitely by the time I'm like finished with this Chameleon, my back is just gonna be in ruins. So I'll probably take a little bit of time off to get that sorted. Unfortunately, because of the deadline I've got on this one, I don't really have the opportunity to do that. Just got to sort of power through and hope I don't fall apart in the meantime. Okay, I need to figure out how I'm gonna get this to fit. I think that looks pretty good. Gives us a bit of a lip, but I'm not necessarily mad about that. I think it will still look quite good. That means this line here, I obviously need to have like an actual edge over it so that we have something to weld to, but we're going to go like that. Now what I need to do is get another one of those and copy for the opposite side so that I can get the angles all similar. Let's take another one off. Yeah, they're definitely getting more difficult to take off actually as I get further down. Okay, that one came off all right. A bit better than the first one, but still had a little bit of damage around here. So we want the opposite. I don't think it matters that much. They just need to be similar-ish. I'm just gonna copy this side. Yeah, I'm not gonna cut this side because I'm just gonna wait to see how that lines up with the middle because I haven't got this perfectly symmetrical. That was why we had so much trouble on this side because this was slightly too far over to the left. To try and get these to match up on this side, I've had to change the angle here slightly and really push it across. All right, let's see if we can actually get this to weld. This is really thin metal, so I'm going to drop the power down because I don't want to just like destroy it straight away. I was wondering why this hadn't worked. I haven't attached an electrode. Yeah, so my fear was that I'd just basically eat through the metal because it is so thin, so that's happened straight away. Lower it even more, that might help. Okay, what we're gonna do is take a small nail here, we're gonna weld it to the edge and use that as a focus point for the rest of the weld. Hopefully that will work a little bit better. Okay. Oh, I feel like I say this literally all the time, but we're gonna have to improvise. Also, I'm now deciding there was literally no need to cut this. I wonder if I can just weld it back together. That might be a better idea. Or I might just make a big hole. Who knows, we'll see in a second. Yeah, I've sort of really weakly joined it together on the other side, but it is kind of eating up the metal, so I'm just gonna leave it at that. I think what we're actually going to have to do is we're going to have to super glue this strip because I'm not going to be able to get in there and weld it very well anyway. But it's not really important structurally, so it doesn't need to be very strong, it just needs to be in there, and this is so light and thin that it should be fine. Yeah, it's not worked very well. It does give a good indication of what the piece is going to look like though. you can see how it's getting built up. Okay, that's actually worked on the corner there. Let's try not break that weld. This is very much not working. Okay, no luck, but I have an idea. Oh, let's try not break that weld. I think the actual problem is this metal here. Obviously this being really thin and friable doesn't help it at all, but this metal, nothing has liked welding to this, so it's just been really difficult all the way. I don't know how I managed to get it to weld there, but I just can't seem to replicate that anywhere else. Oh, I really thought we had a weld there. Once again, running out of ideas. Well, all that welding was a waste of time. We basically have just glued up the inside and then lined it with a few nails, and that's worked way better than what I was trying to do for all that time. We've still got a bit of a gap here, so I'm going to wait until that dries a little bit and we'll just make sure that's a bit stronger. Ta-da! We have a bit of a lower jaw going on. You can kind of imagine a bit better now that we've got some more structure. That should be how it will look. Once again, so much difficulty welding to these. It's really frustrating. Okay, I think we're going to need to grind this down a bit flatter. Okay, that's really lightly welded in place. It's not fixed in there at all. Oh, let's take a break. We have made a lot of progress. I think I'm probably only going to do the one side for now. It's pretty late and sometimes it's bad to do too much in one go because you need a little bit of time to like reflect on the choices you've already made and don't want to just do too much and then suddenly decide, actually, this looks terrible. So I'll be able to come back, look at this with a fresh set of eyes and then evaluate whether or not that is what I want to do or if I need to undo it. So I've kind of left that eye welded in pretty weakly just so I can remove it if I change my mind, but I also have the freedom to just work more on it and strengthen that up. It is definitely really nice to actually have something like that's a physical structure built though, because it just helps you visualize so much better what it's all going to look like when it's sort of an actual 3D shape rather than the sort of 2D framework that I've been using up until now. But I'm pretty happy with that. Obviously, all of this area needs to be fleshed out. There's quite a few like gaps, things like this at the front around here that will need to be filled in. And then we'll sort of build out that frill. But I think that for a general structure, it looks pretty chameleon-y. Let me know what you guys think. If you think this doesn't look like a chameleon at all and you can't see what I'm talking about, then I should probably know now before I go any further. And also remember, this is just like the base layer. It will get more sort of complicated. I generally tend to do it in layers, so there might be cool parts like this added on the top, stuff like that, just to really build it up. And then there'll always be the detail parts, which is the final stage when I add color and little bits of circuit board stuff that will really like bring the whole piece to life. Things always change between the drawing and the execution, but I think we're doing pretty well in terms of sticking to what we've got. It looks kind of weird because having this bit filled in and then all this empty space up at the top leaves it looking very like bottom heavy, but I think as we fill this bit out, it will look a bit more normal. And also obviously all of this weird like sort of scaffolding and stuff, we won't be able to see once it's actually finished. So that will all look way more normal as well. Okay guys, I'm gonna call it a day. My back hurts and I could really do with going home. So I will see you guys for the next one. We'll be filling this out quicker and quicker, so stay tuned.